So I recall as a child in Australia that we're talking about the Vietnam War. During the Vietnam War, there is a pact, a treaty called the ANZUS Pact, for those who wish to know or those who may have forgotten. ANZUS is an abbreviation for Australia, New Zealand, US. This was a treaty, mutual defense treaty, signed between those three countries after the Second World War. And this requires that one comes to the aid of the other in certain circumstances. And this meant in practice that Australia sent, there was a draft in Australia. There was a military draft at that time, and soldiers were sent to Vietnam. But I recall that those studying in university were exempt from this draft. I think something similar existed in the United States at the time. I believe if you studied in university and college, you were not required to serve in Vietnam. I'm not sure about the details, but I believe that's the case. I know this was the case in Australia and probably in New Zealand, but I wasn't there at that time. The reason I mention this is simply to point out that societies do and should have a set of values and aims for the general betterment of that society, and therefore they bestow preferential treatment on certain sectors of the population in order to achieve a certain goal. In the case of university studies, the idea, I suppose, was that people studying university are doing something of value, not just to themselves, but to the general society, and the country needs these people, and places a premium on such people compared to other people. Perhaps that does not sound egalitarian, but that is the reality. How much more so, that this should be the case in the Jewish nation, the Torah nation, that the nation of the Torah, the nation that received the Torah, is defined precisely by that Torah, as Rabbeinu Saadia Gaon writes, "She'en umathenu uma ela b'toratheha." Our nation is only, the Jewish nation is only defined and is only deserving of that appellation because of its connection to and its devotion to the Torah and its living according to the Torah. And this requires that Talmidei Chachamim be ever present within the Jewish world, within Jewish society. And it also requires, as in this case, preferential treatment. How to apply this, in which situations, with regards to what type of tax or levy or obligation or duty, that is a much more complex question. I won't go into that right now, but the principle here is something that we should note, that the Torah is the overarching principle of Am Yisrael, and has always been, and must always remain so.